Welcome back, everybody. Today we're taking a deep dive into The Revenant.
Ooh, intense.
It is. This 2015 film, it's based on a true story, so right away, you know it's going to be pretty gripping. But it's not just about, like, surviving a bear attack.
Right.
Which, that's what everybody talks about.
Yeah.
But this movie, it's a visual masterpiece. Yeah. It really makes you think about survival, revenge, what it means to be human out in the wilderness.
Definitely. And how we relate to nature.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to explore those themes, the symbolism, and why this film is still so powerful, even years later.
It's really interesting, how The Revenant takes a simple revenge plot.
Right.
And turns it into something much deeper. Like, it makes you think about the human condition.
It really stays with you.
It does, long after the credits roll.
Yeah. So the story follows Hugh Glass.
Okay.
He's a fur trapper. And he gets mauled by a bear, like brutally attacked.
Oh.
And then, get this, he's left for dead. His journey back, well, it becomes this quest for revenge, but it's also about just surviving against nature.
And other people.
Yeah. And the film doesn't shy away from how brutal it all is.
Not at all.
I mean, the director, Iñárritu, he really puts the reality of frontier life right there on screen.
It's harsh.
You experience Glass's pain, hunger, how vulnerable he is. It's all there in the visuals.
Yeah, and you really feel that through DiCaprio's performance.
Oh, for sure.
It's both physically and emotionally demanding.
Intense. You can see what it takes out of him.
He doesn't even need that much dialogue.
Right.
It's all in his physicality, how he brings that that determination to life.
Absolutely.
It's visceral, almost entirely physical, his performance.
Yeah.
I mean, his body language, his expressions, they tell the whole story.
Yes.
You feel his struggle. It's palpable.
It goes way beyond acting. It's like a transformation.
It really is.
You know what really got to me?
Mm-hmm.
It's how the environment is like another character.
Oh!
The cinematography, especially the use of natural light,
Yeah.
breathtaking. It makes the wilderness beautiful and scary at the same time.
Definitely. The setting is not just a background, it's part of the story.
Totally.
That vastness, the cold, the constant danger. It's like you're right there with Glass.
And then there are these moments of silence.
Yes.
Which, when you combine them with that haunting score, it creates this atmosphere of being totally alone. It really highlights how weighty his journey is.
Absolutely. And it makes you think about the bigger themes, beyond all the action and brutality.
It makes you go deeper.
Those moments of silence, they're so important. You're drawn into his internal struggle, and it makes you think about resilience, the cycle of violence. Where does civilization end and savagery begin? It blurs those lines.
For sure.
And you see that blurring, that line between civilized and savage, really clearly with John Fitzgerald.
Right, the guy who leaves Glass to die.
He shows us that, ruthless side of humanity.
Yeah.
But his actions, they make sense in a way.
I mean, yeah. The world he lives in, it's brutal.
It is.
Fitzgerald represents that part of us, I think, that would do anything to survive. Even if it means, forgetting your morals.
Right, right.
The film doesn't tell you who's right and who's wrong. You have to figure that out yourself.
It makes you think about the gray areas of being human.
Exactly. That's what makes The Revenant so powerful. You know? It asks these hard questions about survival, revenge, what it means to be human. But it doesn't give you any easy answers.
It's up to you to think about it.
Yeah, to come up with your own interpretation.
And how we view our relationship with nature, too.
Oh, yeah. Going back to those moments of silence we talked about.
Yeah.
When you see them next to these brutal scenes, it's almost like the wilderness itself is watching Glass.
It's an interesting thought.
It's indifferent to his pain, but also connected to his journey somehow.
The film plays with that tension between man and nature. On the one hand, nature's dangerous for Glass. It's something he has to fight to survive.
Right.
But then there are these moments where he finds peace in nature, like a connection.
Like when he hides inside that dead horse.
Whoa.
It's such a crazy image.
Yeah, it is.
But it also shows how far he'll go to survive. Almost like he's becoming part of the natural world.
It makes you wonder, what does it even mean to be civilized?
Exactly.
The Revenant really makes you think about those boundaries.
It does.
The ones we've created between us and the natural world.
Yeah.
As being civilized just a way to hide from our true nature.
Right, like our animal instincts.
Or is it something deeper, something more essential to who we are?
And, thinking about boundaries, It makes that bear attack scene even more meaningful.
Oh,
It's not just shocking, it's like a turning point for Glass.
Mentally and physically.
Exactly. It's like a symbolic death and rebirth. He's stripped down to nothing, forced to face his own mortality.
Wow.
From then on, it's not just about revenge. It's this primal will to live.
Powerful. Makes me think of other films that explore similar ideas.
Oh, like what?
Well, like Apocalypse Now.
Okay, yeah.
Both go into the darkness of human nature, but in totally different settings.
The Revenant uses that wilderness to reflect the savagery inside us.
Exactly. It mirrors our internal struggles.
It shows that we all have the potential for brutality and resilience.
Powerful stuff.
Another one that came to mind was Dances with Wolves.
Interesting.
They both deal with man's relationship with nature.
Right.
But The Revenant is much darker, way more brutal.
Dances with Wolves has that romantic view of Native American culture and how they live in harmony with nature.
Yeah.
The Revenant, though, it shows you the raw reality of survival, the violence that comes with it.
It's not afraid to show the hard stuff.
It's not.
What about The Gray?
Ooh, good one.
Another story about surviving against nature. This time, wolves in Alaska.
The Gray really dives into the psychology of survival.
The fear, the despair, and finding meaning, even when you're facing death.
Yeah.
The Revenant has some of that, but it's more about physical endurance.
That raw will to live. The
Yeah.
Revenant, it's a film that works on different levels.
How so?
On the surface, it's this intense survival story.
Right.
But underneath, it's about human nature, revenge, our place in the natural world.
That's what makes it so interesting. You can watch it for the action and visuals.
Yeah.
Or you can really think about what it all means.
So for the listeners out there, why should they care about The Revenant?
It's a film that speaks to something deep within us.
Okay.
Our ability to be strong, but also to be cruel. It's about our connection to nature and the impact of our choices.
Big questions.
It is. It's about life and death, finding meaning even when things are really tough.
Those themes are always relevant.
They are, no matter who you are or where you live.
And in a world where, climate change is such a big issue.
Where we're so disconnected from nature, The Revenant feels even more important.
It reminds us of how powerful nature is, how beautiful it is, but also how destructive it can be.
It makes you think about how we're affecting the environment.
It does. And the consequences of our actions.
The whole revenge aspect, too,
Yeah.
it makes you think about forgiveness.
Yeah.
The violence ever really solves anything.
It's a cycle.
Glass wants revenge, but it takes him down a dark path.
It really does. Makes you wonder, is revenge ever really worth it?
Does it just create more pain?
It's something to think about.
And maybe the biggest question the film asks is, how do we live in a world with both beauty and brutality? How do we do it without losing our humanity?
That's a tough one. The Revenant doesn't give you the answer.
It doesn't.
But it does make you think about it.
And that ending,
Yeah.
with Glass staring right into the camera.
Haunting.
It's like he's asking us, the audience, to face these questions ourselves.
Yeah.
Makes you realize there are no easy answers.
Yeah.
But they're questions we can't just ignore. I mean, The Revenant doesn't tell you what to think, but it leaves you with this, feeling of just how complex life is.
That's one of the things I really like about it. It's not preachy.
Right?
It doesn't give you a simple solution. It just lays it all out there.
Yeah, and lets you figure it out. And speaking of laying it all out there, the technical aspects of this film are amazing.
Oh, totally.
The cinematography, the sound design, everything works together to create this intense experience.
Iñárritu using natural light was a brilliant choice.
Oh, yeah.
It gives the film that raw feeling, like you're watching a documentary.
It blurs the lines between fiction and reality.
Exactly. And the long takes, some of them go on for minutes.
Yeah.
You get pulled into the action, You really feel like you're there.
I read that the actual filming was crazy tough.
Oh, yeah.
Like extreme weather, remote locations. The cast and crew went through a lot.
Wow. But you can see that dedication to realism on screen.
Absolutely. The film feels so authentic. You can tell everyone put in their all. It shows how talented everyone was, the actors, the cinematographers, the sound people, everyone.
A real team effort.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into The Revenant, any final thoughts for our listeners? What's the one thing you hope sticks with them?
I'd say The Revenant challenges you to think about your own relationship with nature, with your own humanity even.
Okay.
It makes you think about the impact of what we do, both as individuals and as a society.
Yeah, and it reminds you that even when things are really dark, there's still beauty in the world.
Right.
Strengths to keep going, and this connection to nature that can help us through it all.
Well said.
It's a film that stays with you, it makes you think, and maybe even see the world a little differently. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into The Revenant.